Welcome. In this chapter, we'll share a few brief examples of how the human experience of work and all these tools are being applied in different companies. First one is AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca, a couple of years ago, came to us and said, we want to improve the experience of people taking parental leave. We want to look at first-time mothers, maybe second or third-time mothers, non-birth parents, adoptive parents, etc., and managers of these people to understand how can we improve that overall experience. It was also at a time when they were reviewing their policies. This was for the US group, but they were being supported by a global team, and they were interested in bringing a new third party in to support the leave and benefits for these people. So we started out by teaching them the playbook and toolkit in a boot camp, and then we coached them on a project long term over several weeks, where every couple of weeks after they would initiate a stage of the research or the mapping or the ideation and prototyping, we would coach them through this, talk about the data and things that they were learning and seeing in the field, and then help them to synthesize and know what to do with that. So in the end, what they ended up with, for example, for the people who were on maternity leave, the moment that mattered for them was the time when they needed to inform their boss and their team that they were about to initiate their leave, that they were going to go from the company for a number of months. So they needed to know. They were nervous and anxious about telling people that they were going to be stepping away from work for a time. And they were also not knowing and having different needs for this. So the solution that they come up for them was a concierge who would help them through it, meet with them, talk about their situation, somebody from the company who could coach them through this and help make the connections and also make this customized for their own needs. Really made it a much more a positive experience because they had someone with them to take them through each stage of that leave. Oerlikon is a Swiss engineering company, global company, and what they did was they looked at 5 key processes or 5 key journeys within the employee journey. So the candidate journey, the onboarding journey, performance management, promotion, becoming an alumni, and they created this journey map of all of the actions, the pain points, the key interactions or KPIs, the moments that matter, and really looked at what were the most important moments within those different journeys. And then they mapped the bottom half of that, which was the front and backstage actions. What were all of the people who are supporting the candidate or onboarding journeys doing? What were the processes that were involved? What was the digital or tech that they used to support that? And they created these systems or process maps that showed how their support for their employees or their colleagues at each stage, how well they were supported or not, especially against their key moments and KPIs. And they used this data, this service blueprint, if you will, to redesign all of their systems and processes over the next months. It really became their business plan for the next year and really helped them to know specifically where to focus their resources. This was such a great breakthrough for them. All right. Another example was Koç. Now, Koç is the largest public company in Turkey, about 100,000 employees. They do banking, hotels, hospitals, automotive manufacturing, paint companies, many different types of industries, a true conglomerate. And at the beginning of the pandemic, we did a 3-day boot camp with all of their journey leaders across all of their businesses. So we had 35 businesses represented, and they went through the boot camp with us and learned all the tools and processes, similar to what the previous examples had done at Oerlikon and AstraZeneca. Then when the pandemic hit, which was happening even as we ended the boot camp, literally 2 weeks later, everything shut down in March of 2020. They went out and they looked at using research. They tried to understand what was the situation, what were the problems that people were trying to solve, and what were the different kinds of needs that they had in these different work environments. And they gave journals to people and asked 12,000 people to keep a journal over a month. They did a qualitative survey to ask, what's going well for you? How can it be improved? And how would you rate your satisfaction at this point in the NPS score? And using the satisfaction in NPS and then dividing up the data amongst those on that sliding scale, they were able to identify what were the needs that people had, whether they were satisfied or dissatisfied, etc. And then their companies came up with, these 35 companies came up with 1,000 different new products and solutions to help people through the pandemic. Things like providing short-term loans for education, transportation for elderly family members to the doctor or to the grocery store, all kinds of really interesting and supportive things like this that got them involved in supporting their families. So they reported a huge decrease in anxiety and a huge raise in job satisfaction and NPS and engagement during this 3-month period, just 3 months that they did this. Cisco Systems, over time, and Cisco is a company that does meeting equipment, so video equipment, office equipment. They looked at their own population and said, how are people using our meeting space? When people go into a meeting room, how many people are there? How does that vary over the day? What kinds of equipment are they using? What kinds of meetings are they having? Who are they connecting with? What kinds of functions are meeting? And what are the patterns that they're showing? So over a relatively short amount of time, they were able to map all of this and understand how people are using their physical workspace. And what they did with all of this was they reduced their footprint, their real estate footprint, by 30% in a time when they were increasing their employee population by 15%. So this was just before the pandemic, and they've continued this work, but this really highlighted for us the opportunity of using human-centered design research and prototyping for this question of real estate and how we're using our physical workspace. Huge opportunity there. Here's some other case studies and some other summaries. Some of the ones that I've mentioned are here, but you can have a look in the slides at these to look at the case studies. These are also many of them on our website. Lots and lots of different use cases and applications of human-centered design. All right, in our next chapter, we'll look at the state of HX and what's a roadmap for 2024.